Hello, everyone. So today we're going to talk about how to fund college, and it's all through scholarships. So it's going to be a very interesting topic. We're going to talk a little bit about how this all came about, how I learned how to do the scholarships, and how you can too. And if at any time you have any questions on the scholarship process, just go ahead, put them in the Q&A box that you see, and we will answer all of your questions. So the funniest thing happened to me the other day. I ran into an old high school friend and we got to talking. We caught up about everything that we used to catch up with back in the day. And before I knew it, we got on school and student loan debt. Now, what I found out was that she was $80,000 in student loan debt, and she was back working in the same place that she was working at before she graduated college, which was Target. $80,000 in student loans? That was crazy. I mean, I didn't really think that we were that much different from each other. We went to the same high school. We were both women. She had graduated a year before I did. And we had good grades. They weren't Harvard good, but they were still good grades nonetheless. And I started really wondering what made the difference. She graduated with $80,000 of student loan debt, whereas I graduated completely debt free. And then I started thinking that life is all about choices. It's really the decisions that you make in life that's really going to affect the different roads and how your outcome is. So she had made the decision that it was okay to take out student loans so that she could go to her dream school. And I made the decision, well, my mother made the decision for me that we weren't taking out loans. I'm not quite sure if you know or not, but loans are money that you can take out for school. Usually the parents can take out and co-sign for a loan, or anybody else can co-sign for a loan. And the students can take out loans too, but that money has to be paid back with interest. So what starts off as what my friend has at $80,000, it's really going to end up being a lot more than that come the time where it's time for her to pay it back and after the monthly payment. I actually had one friend who was $100,000 in student loan debt just for his undergraduate degree. And it said it was going to take him about 15 to 20 years to pay back $1,000 per month. So I was so glad my mom told me I couldn't take out any student loans. She wasn't doing it. And at that moment, I had to make a choice. I had to make a smart decision. I had to find out other options. But I wasn't always on that path to graduating college debt free. In fact, I was on the path to being in $200,000 in student loan debt. And that was because, like me, like any other student, went around. We didn't really know what we wanted to do. So we just asked whoever was around us, what should we do? Where should we go? We heard little tidbits. And the person who was closest to me at that time was one of my coworkers. He was actually the manager at a cafe that I was working at. And he used to always ask me, you're in high school. What do you want to do? Where do you want to be when you grow up? Where do you want to go? And I just didn't know, so I picked something, anything. And at the time, I thought I wanted to get into graphic design. So I had started looking at some schools and I told him I wanted to do graphic design because that was what I was interested in. And he told me that his alma mater, which was Boston University, had an excellent program. Before I knew it, we started talking about the grassy green lawns and all the great professors that he had and the great connections. And it sounded like such a good school until I saw the cost. Now, when I went online and I looked at the cost, I noticed that Boston University was going to cost me $50,000. And that wasn't for all 4 years, that was just for 1 year. So that means over the 4 years, I would have to pay $200,000 in order to go to Boston University. And I deemed that wasn't in my bank account and it wasn't in my budget either or my parents' budget. So I really had to sit and think about it and make the smart decision to think about other options, to keep an open mind and to really think about the schools that maybe might give me the most money to go there based on my grade. But at the time, I still didn't know that. I just saw exactly how much it cost to attend Boston University, and I said that that wasn't going to be something that would be good in my budget. So I took that one out. Before I knew it, my junior year when I was talking to that coworker all about just college costs and affording the college and everything like that turned into my senior year and I was still as confused as ever. You know, my mom left it up to me just like so many other parents, leave it up to them as well to figure everything out, to pick the schools. And to be honest, I'm glad that I was looking at how much the school costs because I know that too many of my other peers and anybody else that I talk to, all my private clients, they're not checking these things. They don't know how much the school costs and they're not seeing if that's affordable for their budget. But since I did, I already realized that, you know, I had to think smart, make these smart decisions to go to this particular college or to go to college at all. Because when it comes down to it, if you are going to your dream school and you can't afford it, that school won't be your dream school for long because you won't be there. After you take out certain amount of student loans, sometimes people can't qualify anymore, or the amounts that the parents are supposed to take out each year, or they're expected to contribute to the school each year, becomes so much more than what they can actually afford in reality. So then they have to take the kid out, or you have to end up taking a break from school, and those are just things that we want to avoid. That dream school can completely turn into a financial nightmare overnight if you're not thinking about it and making smart decisions on how much the school is going to cost. So, like I was saying, I quickly X'd that school out just because I looked at the cost, not knowing the things I know today about how you can really negotiate costs with schools and how some schools will give you more scholarships, but I just knew that in my budget I had to make smart decisions. So I had tried looking at scholarships in all the places that people told me before. I had used fastweb.com. I'd used scholarships.com. I applied to some of the scholarship lists that schools gave me, and nothing was panning out. So I started to feel like I wasn't good enough for scholarships. You know, that time everyone tells you you should be on scholarships, and they're just all pointing you to online and having you look at those same scholarship search engine websites that everyone else is looking at and those just weren't working for me. So I said scholarship searching wasn't for me, and I just crossed my fingers and really hoped that I would really find a school that wanted me. So I went and I applied to a couple of different schools. And the first school, I got my financial aid award letter back. That school said they were going to give me $20,000 in scholarships. I was so ecstatic. Woo! $20,000 in scholarships. I could not believe it. And these were scholarships based on my merit aid. So based on the achievements that I did in school for having that good GPA that was over the 3.0. But what I didn't think about at that time when I was first so excited and reading that I got a $20,000 scholarship was how much that school was going to cost. So they were giving me $20,000 to attend, but that school cost $40,000. Still, I had to figure out and think smart about where I would go to get that additional $20,000 per year. That's $80,000 over the 4 years. So I put that school kind of in the no-go column. I knew I wouldn't be able to come up with that, and I knew that loans weren't an option. Then I got my next scholarship award letter come in after I got accepted into the school. This time they gave me $15,000 in scholarships. It seemed like less, but this school only cost $20,000 to attend each year. Still, I tried to wonder where I would come up with the additional five. Finally, I got my last award letter in, and it was $20,000 to go to a school that cost $20,000 each year. I thought that I really hit the jackpot, and I was. I found a school that was willing to give me all the money to attend, but as you can see, not every school was like that. There are some schools that will give you more money to attend just based on where you fall, where your child falls in their grading scale, and compared to other students that are trying to apply there. And there are just some schools that have way more money to give out in the form of merit scholarships. Now, merit scholarships are those scholarships based on academic achievement, so the achievement of your child, if they have good grades, good SAT scores, and they're doing extracurricular activities, then there are schools that are willing to give them money to go. It doesn't have to be just based on your financial aid or your needy status or your income and assets. Because a lot of parents think that, their kid can't get scholarships or they can't qualify for scholarships if they make over a certain amount of money, but that's just not true. There are merit scholarships and there are need-based scholarships. If you make too much money or you feel like you make too much money, then you should definitely look into more merit scholarships. That way they'll solely just look at your child's achievements. If they are a B average student, that's okay. If they even are a C average student, if they have a 2.0 grade point average, there are still scholarships out there for you because these scholarships are going to have, sometimes they don't have a requirement and sometimes they have a GPA requirement, but it might say you need to have a 2.0 or 2.5 or higher. After you've reached that 2.0 or 2.5 GPA requirement, then you no longer need to worry about your GPA. You have to really make an application that stands out and you have to really make sure your essay stands out. So those things are really important when it comes to thinking about scholarship searching, and don't just take yourself out of the scholarship game because you think your GPA or your SAT scores aren't good enough to win and apply for scholarships, because they are. So I got all these schools and I finally got the money. This was before I even got to um, see this if this is even before I got to figure out exactly about the private scholarships. These are just scholarships from the school that the school gave me for choosing the school that wanted me the most. And I was really on my way to graduating debt free until I ended up with a hiccup, as we always do. The path is never just so easy. It's always has some bumps and some grooves to it. So I ended up losing one of those scholarships before I even got into the school, and that was $4,000. Now I was back in the same boat, and I lost the scholarship not because my grades had dropped or anything like that. I lost it because I went online to try and accept the scholarship. However, one of the scholarships did not have a place for me to check the checkbox online. The checkbox was kind of grayed out. So with that checkbox being grayed out and me being a teenager, 18 years old, not really knowing what I'm supposed to be doing, my parents just left everything up to me to try and figure out on my own. I just assumed, who doesn't accept the scholarship? Like, really, who doesn't accept the scholarship? So I said this must be an automatic one, and I didn't investigate further. And I didn't investigate further until I got a bill in the mail saying that I need to come up with that $4,000. Now, I wish I had investigated further, but it just sent me even further on my journey to learn that it's important to not just have enough money for the cost of college, but sometimes you need to have more than enough money. And that's where the private outside scholarships came into play. I learned that when you make smart decisions, you apply to the colleges that really want you to give you the bulk amount of money to attend, and then you supplement with private scholarships. That's way less work on trying to fill out hundreds of scholarship applications individually. And that's how you're able to graduate college debt free, and that's how I was able to graduate college debt free and get $10,000 back from the college. Now, I know a lot of times people are like, wow, that is incredible. How in the world did you get money back from the school? Now, what a lot of times people don't tell you is that if you are really diligent and you're applying for more money, more scholarship money than what it costs to attend the school, then you're going to get a refund check back. A lot of times schools will add in additional funds for like travel, transportation, additional expenses. So it's going to pump up the amount that the school costs. So since they already have that factored into their budget, there is some money left out over there between the actual cost of school and anything else that's over it, between the amount that the school deems is a suitable amount for you to attend the school comfortably. And though that's the amount that you get back. So the difference in the tuition and what your scholarships cover, that's going to be the amount that you can get back from the school. So that was amazing. I never knew I could do that until I lost that scholarship, and losing that scholarship really made me see that it was way important to have way more money than what I needed to attend. And by getting more money than what just the bare minimum that I need to attend, I set a different goal, and that goal made me go over, and in turn, it gave me those refund checks back. So now, looking back on everything, I really realized that it's really important to make smart decisions, especially if you really want to save time on trying to go after all of the scholarship applications. And that searching and applying for scholarships, that's going to be a really important thing to do. You are investing your time, you're investing your energy into applying for scholarships. And you know what? That time and energy investment will definitely pay off when your friends are the ones that are having to pay back those student loans and you aren't. Because they're spending money, they're spending time, and they're spending energy to pay back the student loans when they could have prevented them with scholarships. So that's exactly where I show people exactly how to find the scholarships that will be best for them and how to win those scholarships, how to not just find the scholarships, but to really make your essay and make your whole scholarship package stand out so that you can win them. Now, everyone is different. So where I will tell one person to find and look for scholarships will be somewhat different from where I would tell another person. For example, I had a student who came to me and they were asking about some scholarship help. Now, this student was a 3.5 GPA and they were really interested in drama. So we targeted different drama clubs and drama organizations to make sure that they had the scholarships available so that she could apply to those things. So now you can see it's kind of different. It doesn't have to just be based on your major. It doesn't have to be based on your ethnicity. There are a lot of different scholarships for way more things than you can ever think of. A really popular, unusual scholarship is the duck branding scholarship, and that's when people use duct tape and they design their prom outfit. So they have to design a guy's prom tuxedo and a girl's dress all out of duct tape. Now that doesn't have a GPA requirement like so many people think. Same with some other areas. If you're really big into arts, those won't have GPA requirements, so you don't have to worry about that. You can still qualify and find those particular scholarships. So whenever I talk to somebody about scholarship searching, making sure that you have enough money for college and you want to go through the scholarship process, I always say target those local scholarships. Those scholarships are going to be the ones that are in your communities that you can really find, you can hone in with, and you can really make sure that you're getting the amount of money. You're not competing against thousands of people. You're only maybe competing against 100 or 50 or 25. When I was going through the scholarship process, I ended up having to go on an interview, and one of the local scholarships they were telling me that they were barely getting any qualified candidates, and of the candidates that they were getting, a lot of people had incomplete scholarship applications. So these are really big things that we have to pay attention to when we're applying. You can't just throw something together and expect you to just win the money automatically. You have to really make sure that your application will stand out. You're really presenting yourself. You're telling your story. That's what people are going to hear. They're going to really remember. So really, really make these smart decisions. Think about the schools that are going to give you the most money to attend. Sometimes even if you don't have a school that's going to give you a lot of money, but you really want to go to that school, you can kind of negotiate with that school with other schools that have given you a lot more money to attend to see if they have a little bit more wiggle room in their budget to help you graduate college debt free or to give you as much institutional aid as possible. Then after you're making smart decisions, you're applying to the schools that really want you, then you supplement the difference with the private scholarships, and that's how you really graduate college debt free with money in the bank. That's how I did it. That's exactly how you can do it too. Those local scholarships are really going to be worth the time and effort. I know a lot of times people have put in a lot of time and effort into um, FastWeb and other scholarship energy search engines, and they feel like scholarships are a scam or they're a gimmick. That's just not true. You just have to know where to look, and you have to be looking and applying in the right places. So definitely get in your mind, make that decision. Ask yourself, are you going to say it's okay to get student loans for a better future? Or do you want to graduate college debt free with money in the bank like I did? That's a decision that you have to make and a choice that you have to make as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and take some questions, try to answer some questions in this time that we have. Okay, we had someone who asked, where exactly do we find some of these scholarships that you're talking about with the local areas? So, with local area scholarships, anywhere that you can think of that's just really specific to your area. A lot of times these scholarships will have criteria and they can be found in like libraries, at your school through the guidance office. Not don't let them just tell you to go and search a fast web or some of the other places. You really want to know where some of these hard copy ones are. You want to try and talk to local organizations, local businesses, local banks, and things like that because those scholarships are only going to be open to people in your local area. Most of these scholarships will have that criteria on there, and they'll say only available for people who live in the state of blank. So whichever state you live in. And that's going to be a smaller population of people that can apply to the scholarships rather than the big arena of people that can actually apply to some of the national ones that are open to everyone in the nation. So really think about the local ones that have a lot of criteria, a lot of eligibility requirements that you have to go through and that you really have to make sure that you are to make sure that you qualify for before you're actually trying to apply to these scholarships. The more eligibility requirements that are there that are just specific to a specific person, the less people that will be trying to qualify for these scholarships. Definitely look in your area, look into the local banks, the libraries, your schools, any place like that. They're going to have these local scholarships, local organizations. Even I had one scholarship and it was in due to their child dying. So sometimes they'll have certain scholarships, a memorial scholarship, and things like that. So those are definitely ones you want to look at. So I had Darcy who asked, what do you think about work study? So work study can be good, but once again, that's like a job to me. So you're still trading hours for a dollar amount. Now, depending on your college and which position they put you in, some students might be working for minimum wage, other students might be working for more. If that's helping with the cost of the college and the bill, then by all means, go ahead and do it. But to me, scholarship searching always panned out a lot more than any type of job did because I could always make a lot more money trying to search and apply and win these scholarships than I ever did when I worked a job. So even when I was working the job when I was at the restaurant, I was making $10 an hour. So to get to $1,000 scholarship, I would have to, at $10 an hour to get $1,000, I would have to work 100 hours. So that's really a full-time work week of over 2 weeks just to get that $1,000. Whereas if you write a scholarship essay and you spend the amount of time that it takes to really craft that application, you might be working for maybe 4 or 5 hours to get that same $1,000. So now you can see, would you rather work 100 hours to get $1,000 or work 5 hours to get $1,000? And the beauty of the whole scholarship process is that once you've gone through and you've discussed everything, you've gone through the whole process once, you can pretty much take a lot of the stuff that's in the first package and use it for many other ones. So then the amount of time that you're spending on each application starts to decrease a lot. So the first time you do something, just like anything, it might take a long time. So you might spend 5 or 10 hours just trying to get into the groove, figure out everything, collect all your data. But then the second one you say, hell, a lot of the questions are the same. I can use this same essay and just make some minor tweaks if that essay is really good. And then maybe you're only spending 3 hours per application or 2 hours per application. Then when you really start to get into the groove, you can knock it down to 1 hour. How many kids can say that they can only work 1 hour and win and earn $1,000 or $2,000? And that's, not too many kids can really say that. So really just think about it when you're thinking about your options. Work study is always a good option if you want to. but I always just found there's more leverage in when you're applying for and winning scholarships. So thank you, Darcy, for that question. That's a wonderful question. All right, and then Ellen asks, can you give advice on creating a great essay? Do you think essay coaching is worth it? So during the program, I give you a lot of tips and techniques, and if you want to figure out how you can be a part of the program, I suggest you going to the website. It's on that slide, www.debtfreecollegegrad.com. I only open up the program once every couple of months, so it's not open all the time. It's only for a limited amount of students. And this is really based on how to craft the essay in the way that's really going to stand out to the scholarship judges. So if you get essay coaching, sometimes they're just based on the general essay. And my advice, and I know other essay coaches that I've spoken to, their advice is to really tell your story. So I believe in that completely. Telling your story, telling your child's story, that's really going to be what makes you stand out. It's going to make you memorable. And it's really going to help the judges get an idea for who you are. When people can understand who you are, then they really resonate with your story a lot more, and you'll be more likely to win the scholarship money. But it's a lot more things that go into creating a great essay than just telling your story. A lot of times I teach my clients about making sure that your mission aligns with the organization's mission, making sure that you're using keywords in your essay so that the organization really says, hey, they really understand us. That person really gets us. And I really believe that she's going to continue our mission on. We really want her to be a winner because she looks like she'll be a good candidate and she'll represent us really well. So I definitely think that getting scholarship help, it's an investment. Getting essay help, help through the entire process to really make your package stand out and to really know the tips and techniques that are going to really make sure that you're staying at the top of the pile. That's going to be what's really best. All right. Then I have Miriam ask me, how many scholarships did I apply for and how many actually gave you the scholarship? No, I don't really remember exactly how many scholarships I applied for. I would say, and this is something that I would do not just one time, I would keep doing over the years. So once I had like a nice little system going and I made sure that I filled out an application and it was really good, it was the best of my ability, then I would really just kind of like copy it and send it out to the other scholarships. So I would probably say that I applied to maybe between 10 and 15 local scholarships. And like I told you before, when I started applying to the local scholarships, I started winning those. And that's 10 to 15 local scholarships per year. So I would do this, I kept doing it, and I would apply and try and renew my scholarships because that's one of the other things you can do too. Scholarships, sometimes they'll be renewable, meaning that you get say you get $2,000 for the first year, and then if you do something like you just make sure you stay in contact with the scholarship committee, then they're going to sit up there and say, okay, they did everything, they kept up their GPA over that 2.5 or 3.0 that we said, and this scholarship is renewable. Okay, we're going to give that person another $2,000 for their next year, and then another $2,000 for their junior year, and then another $2,000 for their senior year. So in actuality, there were a bunch of scholarships that I only applied to once, but I ended up getting $8,000 for them instead of just the $2,000 because I renewed them. So that kind of was like a semi, reapplying. There was another scholarship that I reapplied for to try and get renewed, and I used the same exact scholarship application for it. So that didn't really take a lot of time. All it required me to do was to just put a stamp on it and send it back off. So to really just answer your question, I would say I applied for at least 10 per year, especially after just getting the basis. But once again, I really applied to the schools that really wanted me. And then I supplemented the difference with the private scholarships. So it always depends on how much scholarship money that you need. If you have a higher goal, so maybe my goal was I needed to cover that 4,000 and maybe have some more, then I was making sure that I was applying to more scholarships that I would get way more money for and then actually win them. So I'll say probably about for every 10 or 15 scholarships that I was applying for, I was probably winning about 7 to 10 of them. So I didn't win all of them, but definitely when I started applying to the local scholarships, I started winning a lot more than in the beginning. So thank you for that question. Thank you, Miriam, and thank you, Ellen, for those great questions. So I have someone named Jaleel. He says, everyone I talked to in college told me they are all in debt. And you know what? That is the truth. And a lot of people are in debt from college. And not just a little bit of debt, a lot of debt. A lot of my friends came to me when I was graduating, and I would ask them, see how excited they were, and I asked them, how, aren't you just great? Aren't you just happy to be able to about to get on with our lives and be going off into our careers and everything? And I was so excited and gung ho, and I wondered why my friends weren't, and I realized it was because they were in student loan debt. One friend had what she called was a car payment for student loan debt, and that was about $25,000. Another friend, like I told you before, had $100,000, and they just weren't excited to graduate. That's why I am so big about talking about preventive measures and finding the scholarships so that you don't get into debt, making those smart decisions to finding the colleges that really want you so you don't get into debt and you don't have to worry about it afterwards. When you're doing preventive things, you're doing a lot more work than what you were doing if you were doing preventive measures. So if you're finding those scholarships now and applying for them, you are doing a lot less work than if you have to go back and pay for how much the college costs, how much loans you got, and pay the interest, because really the loans are going to add up. The interest really doubles and triples the amount that you had to pay for in the beginning after that time is up. It's just like any kind of car loan or bank loan. You're going to pay a lot more over time, the more money that you take out and the longer it takes you to pay it back. So Danielle Bryan says, is it possible to apply to too many scholarships? And personally, I would say no, because you don't know who's going to give you the scholarship, who's not. Um, it's always better to apply to more scholarships and have more than enough money than it is to apply to not enough scholarships and be short the amount of money that you need. I have heard of some of my clients, they'll say like their schools say that, they can't get scholarships exceeding a certain amount. Okay, that's fine. At least the school's paid for. You don't have to take out any sorts of loans or anything like that. You are still going to most likely get a small refund check back for the amount over, and then they will just probably discard the scholarships, or you can talk to the scholarship committee to ask them if they can put it towards your next semester or the semester after. I don't think anyone ever complains about having too much money. It's always having too little money that we start to complain about. So I wouldn't even worry about applying to too many scholarships. So we have someone else who asks, do I have to wait until I'm in college with a declared major to apply for major specific scholarships? That is a really good question. You see, that's I'm so glad that you asked this question. It's very interesting. No, you don't have to wait until you're in college and have a declared major to apply for major specific scholarships. You see, there are so many different scholarships. A lot of scholarships don't ask for your major, but you're asking specifically about major specific scholarships. For the ones that don't ask for your major, you can apply to those scholarships when you are young. So they have scholarships out there that elementary school students can apply to, middle school students can apply to, even ninth, 10th, 11th graders can apply to these scholarships. And they're not asking about your major. So don't wait until college. I always say the earlier you start with scholarship searching, the better it will be for you. And then you asked about, in particular, you asked about a declared major to apply for major specific scholarships. The thing with it is that scholarship committees know that you're probably going to change your mind. A lot of times, studies have shown that majority of students end up changing their mind on the particular scholarships and the majors that they, oh, sorry, not the scholarships, but they change their mind on the particular major. So a scholarship committee can't necessarily penalize you for changing your mind after they've already given you the money and everything like that. That's one thing. Scholarship money isn't going to be taken back after it's already gone through the school and been processed. So say one semester you decide that you want to be an English major, so you apply to those English major specific scholarships, and then you get the money for that. And the next year you say, I don't want to do English anymore, I want to do math. Well, they've already put the money in your account, and it's okay. You just changed your mind, and they understand that students will change their mind, but you don't have to wait until you're in college. You don't have to declare a major to apply to those major specific scholarships. They will like you to see that you have some type of direction that you want to go to and the reason why behind it. But as long as you have like a particular interest, even when you're in high school, if you have a particular interest in a certain scholarship, I always suggest looking up those particular major specific scholarships and um, to actually look up those particular major specific scholarships and to apply to those, even if you have a small interest. So if you want to be an Olympic swimmer when you grow up, that is okay. You can still apply to those scholarships even if you change your mind afterwards. So small interest, big interest, still apply if you have something to back it up or a great reason why you would want to do those things. It's going to make your application stand out even more and it's going to help you a lot. Okay, we have a Carol Ann. She said she came on late and is wondering where is the best place to look for scholarships. The great thing is that the whole session is going to be on demand shortly after this. So if you came on late, you can still get all the information and the material. I always say the best places to search for scholarships are going to be in your local community. Now, Carol Ann, I would need more information on your child, so your son or daughter, to tell you in particular where that should be. So I would suggest you go to the website. It's on the slide, www.debtfreecollegegrad.com. And once you go there, then you can talk to me and we can see exactly where the best places for the scholarships will be for your particular child. But it's always based on, I always say look in the local community and it's based on your child's strengths. So say if your child really wants to be a pianist, they like to play the piano and things like that, then we will really target some of the music scholarships and we would target the music scholarships in your local area. Alejandro says, once we get into college, are there still scholarships we can apply to? Yes, there are still scholarships you can apply to. We talked about it a little bit. I kept applying and reapplying. A lot of times, a lot of people think that in high school there are no scholarships for, after high school, that's where scholarship searching ends. No, there's still a lot of scholarships that you can search for, apply, and win in college as well. So definitely apply to those. A lot of times the scholarships they won't ask you for your age or sometimes they'll say you have to be under 21 or under a certain, they might want you to just be a younger student. So just always check the eligibility requirements and that will lead you into the way. Now we have Jaleel who asked, do I think there's any chance of winning a national scholarship since everyone is applying to them? Yes. There always has to be a winner in every scholarship, but it's just the way that you craft your application, you make your application stand out. So once again, when I was first doing this, I did not know all the tips and techniques that I know now. I've spoken to different scholarship committees and judges, asking them what they look for, what are the key things, and I've developed this system that's really shown you how to find and win the scholarships that will be best for you. Now, if you have a great story and you can really portray that in the scholarship application, and you can really make yourself stand out from the crowd, and we teach you how to make yourself stand out from the crowd in the whole program as well, then you can win those national scholarships. So you can really make sure that you stand out, and there is a possibility that you can win those national scholarships. Just for usually anyone who's in school and high school, I always found that the easiest scholarships to win for me in particular when I was going through the process. And you always like to win the scholarships more than just trying to put all your eggs in one basket and then get upset. So it was always easier for me when I was going through it to find smaller scholarships and just keep adding them up than working 10 hours on some of the national scholarships which required a lot of different essays. So the difference between the national and the local scholarships are that the national scholarships might give you a whole lot of money. So it might be a scholarship for $20,000, $50,000, or something in that ball range. But they're going to ask you for, it's usually going to be a lot of criteria. So they might ask you for 3 different essays you have to write, and then you're going to go to different interviews and things like that. Whereas if you're looking for some of the local scholarships, they might only ask you for a 500-word essay. And then you might go on one interview, and that's $2,000 or $5,000 or renewable $2,000 with a lot less people applying for it. So that's why I usually just point people towards the local scholarships because there's less people, less competition, and a lot of times people do get overwhelmed with the amount of work that a national scholarship will require you to do, and they think that all scholarships are like that when they're not. A lot of scholarships don't have a lot as many requirements as the national ones. All right, and Sabrina asked a really great question too. She was told by a creative writing teacher and SAT prep teacher that you should not restate the prompt and instead should start your essay off with something memorable and interesting with great vocabulary and a demonstration of understanding the prompt. Is this correct information? Yes. Definitely, when you restate the prompt, then you're looking like everybody else. You want to really stand out from the crowd. Um, so you really want to start your essay off with something interesting and something memorable. And that's why I always talk about your life story so much because people are going to remember that. But just think about these essay judges. They're not just reading your essay. They're reading, if you're doing national, they're reading thousands, tens of thousands of other people's. If you're doing local, they might be reading 100 or 50 other people's essays. So how are you going to make yourself stand out? How are you going to get yourself to do the callback? And that's by having something and starting the essay with something memorable and interesting. After you're reading something and it's like the same thing over and over again, you're like, oh, another one, another one. Everything starts to blend in. So when you're starting off the essay like that, then you're not really blending in, you're standing out. So it's all about standing out. Okay, Sarah said, where can we find these scholarships? Most of them require a certain GPA that I don't have. I touched on some scholarships in the beginning during the program when we were doing this broadcast about where you can find some of them. I talked to a couple of scholarships that didn't have a GPA requirement. Sarah, and I always tell people it's always based on your particular needs and your particular interests, so your particular strengths as well. So you can always go to my website, shoot me an email. I also do some scholarship training that can really show you where to find the scholarships that will be best for you. It's always on a case by case basis, and it's always based on what you can bring and how you can highlight your strengths. So that's why I hate just giving people a one cookie cutter approach or a particular scholarship list or something like that because it's different for everyone. Anita says, are there scholarships that can still apply being a freshman in college? Yes, you can apply for scholarships all throughout college. Amanda asks, how many scholarships should I apply for? And out of that many, how many will I most likely receive? Now, Amanda, that's all going to be on you. It depends on how you're crafting the application and the scholarships that you're searching for. So I can't really give you an answer on how many scholarships you should apply for. I always say apply for more scholarships than what you need to attend than the cost of attendance. And how many you're most likely to receive is going to depend on your application. Are you making yourself stand out? Are you keeping yourself at the top of the pile? Are you doing those tips and techniques that's really going to make sure that you look like you're the best candidate for the scholarship? That's really going to determine how many you're most likely to receive. Someone asked, could the local sources for scholarships get annoyed if you ask for a renewal? No, a lot of times the scholarship committees, they know they're doing this year in and year out. So they're trying to help as many people as possible. They're not here to get annoyed. They really want to make sure that they're helping you get through your college education. If you're successful, you're doing the things. A lot of times they'll tell you if it's renewable or non-renewable. If it doesn't specify, it's not going to hurt to ask. They're aren't that many people who are asking about if the scholarships are renewal or not. So it's not going to be like a lot on their end. They're not going to be overwhelmed or they're not going to be swamped with scholarships. All right. Any other questions that you have, you can just go onto the website, www.debtfreecollegegrad.com. So put your name and email address in the box, and we will definitely talk to you about finding scholarships and winning scholarships. Um, we can get all of your questions answered there, and you can also email me after that as well to answer any other questions that you have. That's about all for today. I hope everyone has a good evening, and just remember to make smart scholarship choices, make smart decisions about college anyway, make smart decisions in life by doing the three things. If you just make sure that you are applying to the colleges that really want you, applying for outside scholarships, to supplement the difference and making the smart decisions about it, you can definitely graduate from college debt free and get $10,000 back or get money in the bank, as I like to say. Once again, my name is Shanice Miller. Thank you so much. The website is www.debtfreecollegegrad.com. You can definitely go there and ask me some of your other questions if you have any other additional questions to ask me. Thank you so much and happy scholarship searching and winning.